Chapter 570, Password bar. The waitress still didn't know who the person in front of her was. Otherwise, she definitely wouldn't have the guts to come and block Zhang Yi. Some people are like this, they like to make things as difficult as possible for others when they have a little power in their hands. After Zhang Yi walked out of the apartment building, there was a light snowfall outside, and the road was clean, with very few snowflakes. Every day, someone cleans the area to ensure that the roads are clear, so that traffic can flow smoothly and the huge war machines can pass through. Zhang Yi saw many fresh footprints on the road ahead, and knew that people like him who were going out had already left. After all, among the forces of the 12 cities in the Jiangnan region, there were no shortage of people like Chen Jingguan, who had special connections. Zhang Yi turned on the satellite phone, which had a map of District A and directions from Baili Chongqing. He followed the directions and walked towards District A. The Blizzard City Administrative District, Commander's Office. Zhu Jing was sitting in the office chair, and in front of him stood Tu Yunlai, the head of the operations department. Tu Yunlai stood as straight as a javelin, his face buried beneath his high collar. Zhu Jing had just finished listening to Tu Yunlai's report, and his face could not help but show a touch of gravity. What are you saying? Among the 13 cities we notified, only 12 cities have arrived? Where are the people from Linhai City? Why didn't they come? Tu Yunlai's dull voice came from his overcoat. According to the train conductor's records, when the special train stopped at the Linhai City station, no one appeared on the platform. Zhu Zheng's face was a little complicated. He subconsciously rubbed the fingers of his left hand with his right hand. He wasn't angry, but he keenly sensed that something was wrong with this matter. Linhai City, located northeast of Tianhai City, was also a coastal city. However, compared to Tianhai City, its prosperity and city scale were much inferior. According to the intelligence of the Jiangnan region, the strength of the foreign forces in Linhai City was not particularly strong. They had 6 fairly large organizations, and neither individually nor together did they have the strength to defy the will of the Jiangnan region. And in the face of the Jiangnan district's call for an order, not a single one of them came. This is very strange. Are they crazy, daring to contend with the Jiangnan district? This is obviously something with very little possibility. Zhu Jing looked at Tu Yunlai and said seriously, send someone to investigate this matter carefully. Try contacting them to see if you can still get in touch. Tu Yunlai immediately said, we have communicated with them, but we have not received any response. However, we can be sure that they have received our message. Upon hearing this, Zhu Zheng's face became even more solemn. Could it be that something has happened? Tu Yunlai said, I will send someone over to investigate. If they really dare to disobey orders, then just eliminate them directly. Zhu Jing looked at Tu Yunlai and nodded slowly. Just do it as you say. Zhang Yi followed the map's instructions and arrived in District A. All areas of Blizzard City are divided according to class. Each class of living area is separated by a thick wall, creating a natural class system. However, here, the class system depends more on what you can contribute to Blizzard City. Although the wall is very high, Zhang Yi can clearly feel that life behind the wall is much superior to District B. This can be judged by the lighting. After the end of the world, energy is very precious. Although the lights in Area B are bright, they are only used as a source of light for living. In contrast, Area A is much richer, with colorful lights spreading out along the high walls like a rainbow. Zhang Yi can guess that the life behind it is probably like the downtown area before the end of the world. Not only can you enjoy the quality of life, but there are also many facilities for spiritual entertainment. However, there are more armed guards at the entrance to Area A. As soon as they saw Zhang Yi, they immediately stopped him with stern expressions. Please show your ID. Zhang Yi turned on his communication device and showed the temporary pass that Baili Chongqing had sent him to the other party for verification. After the gatekeeper verified the pass, his attitude immediately changed, and he respectfully invited Zhang Yi to go in. As members of the defense force, they were not eligible to live in Zone A. Therefore, everyone who could enter Zone A was naturally envied by them. Zhang Yi walked through the gate to Zone A. Once he arrived in Zone A, the scene before him suddenly opened up. Buildings towered high, and colorful neon lights lit up the streets. For a moment, it felt as if he had returned from the end of the world to the bustling city of the past. Although there were relatively few pedestrians on the street due to the cold weather, there were still some. There were even brightly lit shops operating along the roadside. Zhang Yi thought of Bian Zhenwu's words that there were indeed bustling streets like those before the end of the world in Blizzard City, and this time, he truly believed it. It's just that this kind of beauty belongs to only a few people. Zhang Yi followed the map that Bailey Changqing gave him and arrived at the door of the bar called Code. When he arrived here, he realized the difference between Code Bar. There were many modified snowmobiles parked around the place, similar to the kind driven by Bian Zhenwu and the others. And most of the people entering and leaving the place were men with a fierce air about them. If you're not a high-ranking member of the defense force, you must be a member of the investigation team. It seems that this place is similar to a veterans club. But it was normal for Bailey Changqing to like coming to this kind of place. He was originally from the military. Zhang Yi arrived at the entrance to the bar and was immediately stopped by two guards wearing black combat uniforms. "Are you a member here?" The Password Bar is a members-only club, and basically everyone who comes here is a familiar face. They stopped Zhang Yi because they didn't recognize his face. Zhang Yi smiled and said, "Just a moment." Then he dialed Bailey Changqing's phone number. Bailey Changqing simply said, "Give them the phone." Zhang Yi handed the phone to the two guards, and after they took it, their expressions quickly became respectful. To them, the leader of the investigation team was almost the pinnacle of their careers. "Sorry sir, I didn't know you were a friend of a VIP, please come in." The two guards respectfully made way for Zhang Yi. This also made Zhang Yi realize that Bailey Changqing's status in Blizzard City was indeed not low. No wonder he wanted to become a team leader so badly in the first place. It really is full of benefits, and his status has been elevated by several levels. Zhang Yi walked into the bar. Immediately, a waitress in a burgundy uniform came over to serve him. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Zhang Yi? Captain Bailey told me to show you the way." Zhang Yi said indifferently, "That's me." The waitress turned around with a smile, "Please follow me." Chapter 571 Deng Shentong. After entering the bar, Zhang Yi could feel the restless atmosphere inside. The smell of alcohol filled the air, and the hearty laughter of the men was especially clear. However, the waitress in red took Zhang Yi to an elevator. Seeing Zhang Yi's puzzled expression, the woman in red smiled and said, "The first floor is for ordinary customers, while the upper floors are private VIP rooms. After all, those bigwigs with status and power can't possibly drink in a noisy place like ordinary people, can they?" Zhang Yi laughed, "What a strict hierarchy." The woman in red covered her mouth and laughed lightly. "Of course. Social stratification is an inevitable occurrence at all times." A strange light flashed in her eyes. With her experience of meeting countless people, she naturally could tell that Zhang Yi was extraordinary. Although Zhang Yi did not have the demeanor of a nobleman, his composed attitude was completely unlike a pretense. I think he must also be a man with experience. As a waitress here, she would not let go of every opportunity to please the big shots. She just hopes that one day she can climb the social ladder and become someone who can live in Zone A. "You look unfamiliar, so you must have just arrived from outside, right?" she asked with a smile. Zhang Yi's mouth curled up slightly, but he just gave a faint smile and didn't answer her question. Trying to find out his information? Does she really think he's a naive person? Zhang Yi has always been strict and conservative about his personal information and will not disclose it to just anyone. Seeing that Zhang Yi ignored her, the waitress's smile grew wider, but a flash of momentary displeasure flickered in the depths of her eyes. Soon, the elevator stopped on the 13th floor. The waitress smiled and held out her hand, saying, "Here you are. Your person is here, sir." Zhang Yi put his hands in his pockets, nodded politely to her, and stepped out of the elevator. He had expected to see Bailey Changqing's familiar big face. But after stepping out of the elevator, he entered a very large and empty room. In the middle of the room was a chair, on which sat a man with long silver hair and a handsome and enigmatic appearance. He was holding a glass of red wine in his hand, lazily sitting in the magnificent chair, looking at Zhang Yi with a smile and a gentlemanly air. Zhang Yi had a face full of question marks after seeing him. He had clearly come to find Bai Li Changqing, but why was there a strange man or woman in front of him? He looked around in surprise, making sure that there was no one else in the room. He then said apologetically, "Sorry, the waiter seems to have led me the wrong way. I'll leave now." But at this time, the man spoke, in a man's voice. "No, you haven't gone to the wrong place. I told her to bring you here." Zhang Yi's eyes flashed. "Oh? But I don't seem to know you." The man said to himself, "Your name is Zhang Yi, right? Someone who can be personally received by Bai Li Changqing should still have some ability." Having said that, he shrugged his hands. "Of course, I don't particularly recognize him as the captain. It's just that I have heard a little about you." Zhang Yi's expression became serious. The other party's tone was a bit arrogant, and he didn't even take Bai Li Changqing seriously. Moreover, he dared to go over Bai Li Changqing's head and get someone to get him here. I wonder what his intentions are. Could it be that he knows his background? "Who are you, sir?" The handsome man glanced at Zhang Yi, his peach blossom-like long and narrow eyes with a playful smile. "You should have heard of my legend. My name is Deng Shentong." Zhang Yi. He didn't know where the confidence of the person in front of him came from. But when the other person spoke, that feeling of confidence was about to overflow. It was as if knowing his name was a matter of course. Zhang Yi could only smile awkwardly. "I have heard a lot about you." However, this perfunctory tone obviously made Deng Shenru very dissatisfied. His face changed, and he frowned, saying, "You haven't heard of my name?" Zhang Yi didn't want to waste any more time with this person. He had brought him here without his permission, delayed him from finding Bai Li Changqing, and was still acting like he knew what was going on. It was really quite perverted. "I'm not from Blizzard City, so it's not strange that I haven't heard of your name. I still need to go see my friends, so I won't stay with you any longer." After saying this, Zhang Yi was about to turn around and leave. But the next moment, a hand suddenly rested on his shoulder. Zhang Yi's pupils tightened, and instinctively he swung his hand back and slashed out with a hand blade, but the other party easily blocked it. "Don't be nervous, I just want to see what kind of person Bai Li Changqing's guest is." When Zhang Yi turned around, he saw his appearance. It was Deng Shentong himself. But Zhang Yi, who turned back in shock, saw Deng Shentong sitting in a chair, elegantly drinking red wine. Twins? Deng Shentong did not answer Zhang Yi's words. It was only at this moment that the two people spoke at the same time, saying the same words. The voice echoed in the air, suddenly as if countless people had spoken at the same time. The two figures that originally only existed in the room suddenly transformed into 10, 20. They all had the same unique appearance, and the voice was erratic and uncertain where it came from. Zhang Yi had no idea what the other person's abilities were, and his heart became more and more cautious. "I heard that you are a spatial prodigy. Can you show me your abilities? My team really needs someone like you. If your abilities are good, I can consider letting you become a substitute for the Heavenly Squad." Zhang Yi was already a little angry at this point. The man in front of him had maintained a high profile from beginning to end. Moreover, he spoke arrogantly to Zhang Yi and paid no attention to Zhang Yi's thoughts. Although he was not sure of the other person's abilities, Zhang Yi was never someone who would let others push him around. A glimmer of light flashed in the middle of his right eye. He was ready to distance himself and then defend and counterattack. If necessary, it was not impossible to unleash his divine might from this distance. Just as the tension was rising, the elevator door suddenly opened. Bai Li Changqing's burly body hurriedly walked out. "Zhang Yi, why are you here? Come back with me quickly, I'm waiting for you to drink." He came over with a smile, putting his arm around Zhang Yi's shoulders. Deng Shentong's eyes were a little disappointed when he saw Bai Li Changqing come. He said lightly, "Bai Li Changqing, I find your friend very interesting, do you mind if I chat with him for a bit?" Bai Li Changqing scratched his head innocently. "Ha ha ha, Captain Deng is actually interested in my friend, which is also considered an honor for him." But Dash's eyes narrowed slightly. "At least you should have given me a heads up about this kind of thing, right? After all, we are both captains of the investigation team, isn't what you did a bit unorthodox?" "Captain?" Deng Shentong's mouth curled up slightly, with an obvious hint of contempt. If it were Bian Zhengwu who said this, I might still give him some face. But it seems that you are not qualified. Bai Li Changqing was furious when he was mocked to his face by Deng Shenli, and an astonishing aura of power radiated from him. "Deng Shenli! Are you trying to stir up trouble in Blizzard City?"